Okay, so we'll get started very soon. Can everyone hear me? Thanks, Kritiko. Excellent. So yeah, we'll go through managing e-commerce implementations today. So we're going to go through what the benefits and costs are of online business initiatives. Michael. So, and we're going to go through developing strategies for online e-commerce websites, and then we'll go through e-commerce implementations. So that's what we're going to do today for this lecture. So my question is for the class, what do you think would be required for an e-commerce implementation?
Branding.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, branding is important. What else? What else is required? That's a very important thing, though. You need a good brand. Brand equity is very important.
Because I was reading this yesterday, so that specifically the companies who have a physical presence with a brand presence tend to do better online.
Yeah, so I know that one of the business owners I've talked to a number over the last, since September. One of the ones, he runs his technology business where he does IT support, he makes websites, he does web development, software development, all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to reach out to him to see what his key success on creating a small business are. And he said the key is word of mouth. That's the best form of marketing. So word of mouth, so people your friends talking about what you're doing, and then you getting customers from that. Word of mouth is the best, and I found that the best for my tutoring. So for tutoring, I've tutored for a long time, and I find that word of mouth is the best form of getting customers. I know that I've gotten almost all my customers through word of mouth. And every other marketing strategy that I use, like Google, I use Facebook ads. I've used Facebook ads. I've done buy and sell advertisements on Facebook. I've done Instagram advertising. I've done Craigslist advertising. I've done advertising on Fiverr, Upwork. I've done advertising on all those ones. And I find that the way I've gotten almost all my clients through word of mouth. So if you have a great brand, if you're able to create a great brand, like a very excellent, valuable brand that people trust and people have a lot of faith in, then what will happen is word of mouth with friends, family, people that you know, people that you don't know but know your brands. You'll get customers through that. So building a brand is extremely important. Yeah, just if you can build a brand that can just, you don't even have to do marketing after that. If you have a great brand, you don't even have to do any marketing. You will be able to sell products or services pretty easily without even promoting it. And I know a lot of people, there's this one mortgage agent that I was talking to, and he said that he doesn't do any advertising. He's never done any advertising, and he's made a good living through just word of mouth. So yeah, word of mouth, just create a great brand, and then word of mouth will get you customers. You don't even have to advertise. So so creating a good brand is a good idea. So then there's identifying benefits and estimating costs. So we need to look at the scope of the project, the role, and resources available. So So it's important to like budget your costs and determine projected benefits to see what the net benefit will be from doing this. And then here, so objectives for e-commerce business are increasing market sales, opening new markets, serving your current customers better. That's very important because serving your existing customers better, that's key because you want to keep your customers. So like you want to keep your customers with your company. So that's very important because if you don't serve your existing customers better, you're going to just lose existing customers. And also what I learned from so keeping an existing customer is cheaper than getting a new customer because you don't have to promote, you don't have to pay for advertising. So it's important to keep your existing customers happy because you don't have to pay for advertising to get new customers. So then it's important to identify new vendors so that can be to reduce costs, find improved product quality, and then coordinating more efficiently with the existing vendors, so making it cheaper, and then recruiting more employees more effectively. Those are very important. Those are very important electronic commerce objectives. I'll ask the class, what are other objectives that you can think of that are very important? Like what are what are some objectives that would be very important too? So what would be some good some other business electronic commerce objectives?
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I was thinking perhaps, fulfillment, distribution, even security, not to mention customer satisfaction, like you said, word of mouth, and yeah.
That's great. Yeah, good points. Yeah, those are important. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, excellent ideas for that. That's great. So then so identifying and measuring benefits. So you want to have them obvious, tangible, and easy to measure. So increase sales or reduce costs. And then it's easy to measure like sales and costs. So there's some initiatives that you can do, like increasing efficiency. Like if you're going to find efficiencies and cut costs, then you can see that on your financial statements. Also, if you increase sales with selling more, you can see it on financial statements. However, with increased customer satisfaction, that's hard to measure. However, doing a survey, doing like a customer survey would be good to measure that. So that's kind of the only way to measure what customer satisfaction is. So that's important to create a survey to see what you can improve on. And then having measurable objectives, and then so measurable objectives, sales, costs you can measure, and then you can measure customer satisfaction through survey. So definitely make a survey with your e-commerce store. So like you can do that through Google Forms. You could do like email, whatever, for feedback. I'd recommend, Google Forms are probably the best way because if you do a Google form, there's like multiple choice questions. So you won't get so doing a Google form or WFOO, WFOO, those are good because it's like email feedback to an email. The problem with that is they may send you a whole bunch of like really angry statements that are not, helpful. So doing like a form through Google Forms, that'll provide feedback that's not worded, and it's more useful than like some people like just saying, oh, like some really angry fan mail. So that's important. Here, so identifying measuring benefits / metrics. So you wanna reduce cost of supply chain, improve your quality, and improve the delivery speed. Then, so that's for supply chain managers' goals. And then for auction sites' goals, you want to focus on number of auctions, dollar volume of items sold, number of items sold, or number of registered participants. So that's more the eBay route. And then virtual communities and web portals goals, you're looking at number of visitors, quality of visitors experiences. So yeah, online surveys are very important to determine what the customer experience is. And then length of time each visitor remains on site and how often visitors return we should look at. So that can be available through Google Analytics. So definitely track that through Google Analytics. So track visitor engagement through Google Analytics. And then, so these are, so building brands, you could measure brands, like brand equity through surveys or opinion polls. So doing a Google form, changes in market share, and enhancing existing marketing programs and creating new marketing programs. You can look at the benefit of that through change in per unit sales volume, frequency of customer contact, conversion of buyers, right? So I had an experience with that, the enhancing existing marketing programs, creating new marketing programs. I had an experience with that, like when I worked at, it was called ASI Technologies. It doesn't exist anymore. But when I ran the marketing for the company, I did it through Twitter. Like I tried to promote it through Twitter. Tried to get more followers through Twitter. The problem is doing that, I got a lot of engagement and impressions on the Twitter posts that I put and all the engagement. There was a lot more engagement. The problem is it didn't convert sales, which is a problem. I find that if you use LinkedIn, like using LinkedIn to connect with people and then talking to them through LinkedIn, that's a better way to promote your products and services than doing it over Twitter. Because Twitter, the problem with Twitter is the reason why Twitter is not a big company in value is because it's hard to convert the users to revenue. It's always been a problem they've had. So using something like LinkedIn would probably be better for that in that scenario. So because LinkedIn's very effective in terms of promoting products or services. So I recommend LinkedIn to do that. And then improved customer service. So using a survey, looking at complaints and customer loyalty, reduced cost of after sales support. So looking at costs of support and types and quantity of support activities, improving supply chain operations, looking at cost, quality, non-time delivery of materials or services purchased, overall reduction in cost of goods sold, hold auctions, so looking at all the data from auctions, and then provide portals, social networks, and virtual communities, so looking at all the analytics for that. So I'll just let the people that are waiting in. Then identifying and measuring benefits. So benefit unit of measure. So we can convert raw activity measurements to monetary units. So we could convert the benefits and costs to money. Like we can't always, but sometimes like looking at cash benefits and costs is good from a profit standpoint, but once we have to value things in monetary units, that goes into more like environmental things. Like if we're damaging the environment, we could put a cost on that to the environment, but it's not a cash cost, so there could be a problem there. Also, benefits to the community, like reduce crime. It's hard to put a money value on that. Like, we're not going to get money from it. Like, maybe reducing crime in the community will benefit the community by like $10 million a year, but we don't see that money. It's just, we just make up a number and say that that's the benefit. So that gets tricky, because once we get into that, eventually we go bankrupt, because we're saying we're creating like $10 million in benefits per year, but our costs are like $1 million, but the costs are cash value. So we're actually, not making any money. So we're actually losing money, because the 10 million in benefits we're not seeing that cash. So that's a problem. Putting a cash value on things that we don't see. We just don't see the money, so that's a problem. But the government kind of is in charge of that, because how the government works is they don't receive money for a lot of the time, except for taxes. So the government has to worry about that, but don't worry about it as you as a business. So here, the identifying the estimated cost. Okay, I'm gonna give me 1 second, everybody. So for web development, we use rapidly changing hardware and software technologies. Hardware costs are always trending downwards, so like computer costs usually go down over time. And then so software costs are often underestimated, so they're actually what we think. And then so web technology is always changing, and that makes our projects more difficult to build, because the costs are always changing. So total cost of ownership, the electronic costs, the e-commerce implementation TCO includes hardware costs, software costs, outsourced design work, employee salaries and benefits, site maintenance. So yeah, we have to look at all those costs when we're putting together our technology. So like the hardware costs go in, software costs go in, outsourced design work, salaries, benefits, wages, site maintenance, all of that money goes towards putting the technology together. So those are all the costs that add up. And then opportunity costs we're going to look at. So that's the cost of not undertaking an initiative. So there are foregone benefits that a company could have obtained from an e-commerce initiative not pursued. So like, just think of it as like, let's say you're working a minimum wage job at let's say Walmart. Let's say you're working a minimum wage job at Walmart, let's say. Your opportunity cost of working at Walmart during the week that you work at, let's say, the opportunity cost of that is the missed opportunity of, let's say, being a real estate agent. You could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year being a real estate agent by instead working as a real estate agent instead of working at Walmart. And that's the opportunity cost of working at Walmart. So the opportunity cost is the cost of not doing something else. So instead, you could be a mortgage agent where you're making a good living during that time, and you'd be working less hours. So looking at opportunity costs is very important, because a lot of people work jobs that they're making, let's say, $40,000 a year, and they're working like 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in a year, and they could be spending their time on something that makes more money. They could be spending that 40 hours a week on something that makes more money, or they could, yeah. So that's very important. So it's the cost of not having another opportunity. So that's very important to look at. Yeah, it's very important to look at that you could be making more money doing something else. So like always look at that when you're working. Like when you're working any job, always look at the opportunity cost of working a job that could make more money during that time. So you'd be spending 40 hours a week making, let's say, $500,000 a year, instead of working 40 hours a week making $40,000 a year. So that's like, look at that. So always look at the opportunity costs. The website costs. So total dollar amounts required to create and operate a website. So so on average, it's about 10% computer hardware, 10% software, 80% labor. So the labor cost is very high. It's, yeah, usually that's true across almost most, like for government, 80% of government spending goes towards wages, basically, and the other 20% is like infrastructure, like, you know, buildings and et cetera, places to work. But 80% of what we pay in taxes goes towards wages of government employees, like be it like politicians, office workers, police, firefighters, military, paramedics, doctors, etc., teachers. That goes 80% of that goes to all those people, like in their wages. So, but here it's the same, basically the same. So then the annual cost of operating an online business website it's between 50 and 200% of the site's initial costs. So it could be half or double the site's initial costs. So then small online store placed into operation for less than $1,000. The small or mid-sized online business operation takes between $3,000 and $1 million. So those are the costs associated with making an online business. And then for a small online store, it's between $400,000 and $7,000. Mid-sized online business is between $10,000 and $1 million. Large online business, $1 million to $5 million. Large companies, like $5 million plus. So it gets more and more as your sales go up, because processing, like payment processing, shipping, all that kind of stuff, cloud storage, all that type of thing. So then functionality, you need a lot of bandwidth, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of people using your website, and then supporting other operating systems, a lot of disk space, having a lot of email accounts for other employees, and then reliability. It needs to be very reliable, so very high speed. Scalability, you need to be able to scale it to as the business gets larger. Very high security, so firewalls, network security software, physical protection facilities, backup and recovery. You need to have a lot of backups, because just in case the site goes down. And costs, there's always going to be constant costs for it. If it's for the IT, the web maintenance, the hosting, like all those things. So you can make a business doing all that stuff for a business. Like you could start a business where you're doing all of that for a business. So you could promote your services, where you could do all the hosting, all the web development, etc. And I know two people who do that, and they've done very well with it. So you can So you can get investors to fund your business. You can get a lot of money early, but there's issues with that. You'll have investors that want to tell you to do certain things and you don't want to do it. Then the profits would go towards those investors, not you. And then they'll pressure you to grow rapidly. So that's an issue when you have investors. And then eventually become an employee if they own 51%. If they own more than half, then you're their employee, which is not ideal because you don't want to be an employee in this situation. And then so it's good to not take investment in terms of you won't have a lot of pressure to grow rapidly. You can be more creative because you don't have pressure from investors, and then you can learn from mistakes better because you won't have somebody, pressuring you all the time. And then if you don't have investors, you could have you keep it small and not grow it rapidly, which would keep the costs low. So that would be ideal for someone like me, but it depends on the type of person that like the type of business you want to run. I don't like having, somebody I don't want to have somebody that's pressuring me and intimidating me to grow and bullying me to grow. I don't want to have that. I like I'd rather be small than have somebody that is always looking over what I'm doing and micromanaging me. I hate being micromanaged, so I would not want to have a lot of investors. So then identify benefits, determine the value of benefits, and then compare value of benefits to costs. So that's important. So always compare your benefits to costs, because your net benefits, which is benefits minus costs, is the most important. So your net benefits is what you should be looking at. If you have a lot of benefits but a lot of costs, then you won't have a lot of net benefits. Net benefits is what you should be looking at. So net benefit is benefit minus cost. So the net benefit number is all you should be worrying about, because that's all that matters. So return on investment. It measures income return provided from an investment. And then it determines so it provides quantitative expression of comfortable benefit to cost margin, mathematically adjusts for future reduced value benefits. So So return on investments use a lot of investing. The higher the return on investment, the better the investment for the most part. Like Coca-Cola, for example, has the highest return on investment of any investment, I think, of all time. And Warren Buffett loves Coca-Cola as a result of that. So return on investment is a very important metric in terms of what companies you want to invest in. It's not the only one. You got to look at a lot of other ones, like return on investment, so cash flow, debt, liabilities, price to earnings. Those are very important. Then those are very important metrics. Net profits are very important. So looking at all those are very key. So internal development versus outsourcing. So outsourcing is using an external company to do the work of completing a project. So a lot of companies use that. So outsourcing it to a foreign country to create the product. So Apple does that with Foxconn. And then it's cheap. It's cheap for the company. However, the problem is you deal with low wages in those countries, which is a problem. And then there's also mistreatment of workers because the conditions of Foxconn, the place where Apple produces their iPhones, are terrible. They actually have, so at Foxconn, they have these, for the staircases, they don't want people to prevent people from jumping off cases. They have nets to prevent people from committing suicide by jumping off the staircases. That's how common it is for workers to try to do that they have nets to prevent jumping off staircases. That's how bad the conditions are in those types of factories. So you can get low cost products. The iPhone isn't a low cost product, it's very expensive, but you can get products, you can create products in outsourcing countries, and people, the conditions are so bad that they want to commit suicide, which is very concerning. And there's been issues with mistreatment of workers, child labor, paying these workers very little. That's been a big issue with these factories. And then outside consultants, they're seldom able to learn enough about organization's culture to accomplish objectives. So consultants, they're very limited because they don't know enough about the company to really, be effective. So it's important to have a internal team for outsourcing. The team members, they are knowledgeable, but they should be knowledgeable about the internet and technologies. They should be creative. They should be distinguished within the company. Their technical expertise are less important because you could hire people that build the technology. So one of the other business owners I talked to, she said that the key to her business, she runs this food business, very nice lady. She told me that the key to her success is having a good team. So having a good team is very important because nothing is ever really done alone. It makes sense. You need a good team. And also the good thing about having a team is that people can specialize in what they're good at. So with me, I'm good at math, right? And then somebody else could be really good at, writing, right? So you could make a team, somebody's good at math, somebody's good at writing, somebody's good at sales, somebody's good at, managing people. So it's good to have a good team. I think the problem with teams is when they get much, much bigger, there's then inefficiencies with that because people start to, they start to just put in their hours and not really accomplish anything. So it's good to have a good team, but not too big of a team. Yeah. So teamwork's good, but don't have too big of a team. Because then people just start to become redundant. Certain roles, people are there, but they don't really accomplish anything, and then they eventually get laid off because that's why having a team with integral members that you can't do without, that's important. That's a good idea. So a mid-range, maybe a team of 4. Just have people that are specialized in different roles and don't have people that are not needed to be there. So early outsourcing. So so you can outsource projects you can outsource customer service to a foreign country. Tim Ferriss did that in the 4-Hour Workweek. He outsourced a lot of his assistant work to people in foreign countries, and that was effective. Also, you can outsource your customer service to a foreign country. So that can be done. You can outsource your technology to foreign countries. So services like Upwork and Fiverr are good for that. I know that I've done work for people in foreign countries through Upwork and Fiverr. So if you want to look for a virtual assistant or customer service in a foreign country, using websites like Upwork or Fiverr are good for that. Also, if you want to promote your services, like what you want to like services like tutoring, web development, any service that you provide, you can promote it in Upwork and Fiverr. So I highly recommend that. Then late outsourcing. So companies, information systems professionals. So they, so you could get your company to put together the technology in-house, and then you outsource later in terms of like the maintenance outsource. So maintaining your e-commerce website could be outsourced, and then your company could be focusing on new technologies. So so that could be what you do with outsourcing. Yeah, like you could outsource certain things, certain functions about your company. And then partial outsourcing, like you can focus on, you could focus on outsourcing only parts of your technology to other companies. So like in terms of like you could outsource email handling, electronic payments, and web hosting to another company, and then you do the rest in-house. So like it just depends on what you need, like what your company has skills in, what your company doesn't have skills in. So like if your company is skilled in web development, you could keep that in-house, and then let's say payment and hosting and maintenance you could outsource to a foreign company. So it depends on what your company's skills are in-house. It could be cheaper to outsource it because your costs might be lower outsourcing it instead of hiring another employee that could do it in-house. So incubators are good. Like there's one down the road, Communitech. It is just down the road. They provide offices, accounting, and legal assistance, computers, and internet connections. They have a low monthly cost. They can provide seed money, management advice, and marketing assistance. They could also be provided with ownership interest in the company. Like not all of them do. Some of them just require monthly payment and not ownership. Some of them require ownership. And then the incubator makes money off of the company through selling the ownership through venture capital financing or a stock public offering. So Y Combinator, Spark Labs, Communitech, Velocity, those are good if you want support. The problem is a lot of those fees are very high, and you could probably do this a lot on your own, but like the good thing is you get access to their networks, which can be beneficial. So Communitech, I think I'll show a video on Communitech. It's just down the road. If anyone, it's right in Kitchener. If anyone is interested in that, I'll just put that up for everybody. So if anyone's interested in support from an incubator, Communitech is just down the road. I'll show you this video. I'm just going to bring it up here.
Want to start an online store quickly with products that are ready to sell? Head over to Wix.com.
yeah, I'd recommend if you do want to if you do want to work with like in a place where there's like entrepreneurs, like if you want a space where you can work where you're near entrepreneurs and you can work with them, potentially collaborate with them. The great thing about Communitech is that it is like you're right next to all these entrepreneurs and you can work with them, get advice from them constantly. You can talk with them. There might be the other table. It's a good spot for networking for the most part. Like I would say that it's the best thing for that is networking. Like you can network with other companies and potentially find customers through Communitech. So I'd recommend for networking, if Communitech is a good place for that, and it's just down the road. It's in Kitchener. It's probably about like 5-minute drive from here. You can probably walk there in like a half an hour. It's accessible by the train or bus. So that's it's a good place for. It is a good place for entrepreneurs. So managing electronic commerce implementation. So we can do that through project management, project portfolio management, specific staffing, and post-implementation audits. So that's important to manage. Good to have all these types of people focusing, like if you can have people specializing in these areas, that'd be great. Like if you have like an account manager, project portfolio manager, project manager, CIO, etc. Like if you have all these people specializing, that would be good. But salespeople still need to know how the technology works to explain it to other people. So it's good to have specialization, but make sure that the salespeople know how to have a grasp of how the technology works. And then having application specialists, web programmers, web graphics designers, having those people like the web graphics designers, web applications, the web programmers, that could be the same person. So you can combine that into one role. And then having content creators, so that's more for marketing. So writing original content on blogs, etc. Content managers or content editors. So purchasing existing material and adapting it for use on the site. That's a good thing. Also, social networking administrator. So managing virtual community elements of the web operation. So looking at analytics, figuring out how to post content that will attract the most impressions, engagement, and like improve sales ultimately. And then like online marketing manager. So you can combine a lot of these roles together. So focusing on email marketing, that's a good thing. Making a newsletter, and then so customer service personnel. So that's very important to ensure that customers are satisfied. Call centers, systems administrator, network operations staff functions, database administration. That's very important too. So yeah. So I changed the due date for the e-commerce proposal. It's due this Sunday, so make sure to submit it by this Sunday. I just wanted to change it because I got a request, and also it's beneficial for everybody. So it's due this Sunday, so make sure to send it in this Sunday. So yeah, I wanted to notify everybody about that. I'm going to bring up the next activity. Just gonna wait for everybody.